Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back to It's Story Time. My name is Miss Sharanda, and we're continuing our journey through the Bible to learn about someone who loved us so much that he came to rescue us. Do you remember who that is? Yes, Jesus! So, are you ready for an adventure? Then come go with me. We'll use our imaginations on the count of 1, 2, 3. It's story time! Did you remember to put on your listening ears? Let's do that before we begin. That's better. We'll be reading from the Jesus Storybook Bible. It's written by Sally Lloyd Jones and illustrated by Jago. Are you ready to continue our journey? Here we go! Have you ever done something wrong and you felt really bad about it? You may have been afraid for someone to find out because you didn't want to get in trouble. Well, most of the time they do find out, and most of the time you do get in trouble. But that doesn't mean they don't love you. It just means they want you to do the right thing. Sometimes when we mess up, we even feel like God doesn't love us because we messed up big. But God never stops loving us, even when we make mistakes. In our story, we'll hear about David. When he grew up, he became king. And he had a heart like God's, a heart full of love. That doesn't mean he was perfect, though. He still messed up, and he messed up big. But God still loved David. He forgave him and made him an incredible promise, which you'll hear about as we continue our story about God's big rescue plan. The Good Shepherd. David, the Shepherd King, from Psalm 51, 2 Samuel 7, and a paraphrase of Psalm 23. David was a shepherd, but when God looked at him, he saw a king. Sure enough, when David grew up, that's just what he became. And David was a great king. He had a heart like God's heart, full of love. Now, that didn't mean he was perfect, because he did some terrible things. He even murdered a man. No, David made a big mess of his life. But God can take even the biggest mess and make it work in his plan. I need a new heart, Lord, David prayed, because mine is full of sin. Make me clean inside. God heard David's prayer. He forgave David, and he made David a promise. I will make you great, David, and one day a king will be born into your family, and he will heal the whole world. Did you know that David was a songwriter too? In fact, his songs were so good, they might have been in the top 40 charts, if they'd been invented then. David's songs are like prayers. They are called psalms, and this one is called the Song of the shepherd. It's probably number 1 on the psalm charts. And it goes like this. God is my shepherd, and I am his little lamb. He feeds me. He guides me. He looks after me. I have everything I need. Inside, my heart is very quiet as lying still in soft green grass in a meadow by a little stream. Even though I walk through the dark, scary, lonely places, I won't be afraid because my shepherd knows where I am. He is here with me. He keeps me safe. He rescues me. He makes me strong and brave. He is getting wonderful things ready for me, especially for me. Everything I ever dreamed of. He fills my heart so full of happiness. I can't hold it all inside. Wherever I go, I know God's never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love will go too. God gave David that song to sing to his people so they could know that he loved them and would always look after them like a shepherd loves his sheep. And one day, God was going to do something that would inspire thousands upon thousands of new songs. God was going to show his people once and for all just how much he loved them. Another shepherd was coming, a greater shepherd. He would be called the Good Shepherd. And this shepherd was going to lead all God's lambs back to the place where they had always belonged, close to God's heart. In this story, David grew up and he became a great king. He had a heart like God's, a heart full of love. He wasn't a perfect man. In fact, he did lots of terrible things. But that didn't stop God from loving him. David made a big mess of his life. But that didn't stop God from loving him. God can take even the biggest mess and make it work out for his plan. David's heart was full of sin, so he asked God for a new heart. He wanted God to make his heart clean again. God forgave David and told him one day a king would be born into his family who would heal the whole world. Do you know who that king is? Yes, Jesus. David was also a songwriter. He wrote songs which were like prayers. In this story, we read about Psalm 23, which tells us about how God loves us, looks after us, guides us, and will never leave us. So remember, wherever you go, know that God's never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love will go with you too. Now that you've heard the story, it's time for trivia! Trivia means I'll ask some questions and you'll answer them. But don't worry if you answer incorrectly, because we're all learning together. Are you ready? Let's go! Question number 1. David was a shepherd and A. Songwriter, or B. Rapper? The answer is A. Songwriter. Question number 2. David told God he wanted a new A. House, or B. Heart. The answer is B. Heart. Question number 3. When David grew up, he became A. Carpenter, or B. King. The answer is B. King. You did it! Wow! You all are super listeners. I enjoyed reading and learning with you today. I hope you can join me next time as we continue our story through the Bible to learn how God loved us so much that He sent someone very special to rescue us. All right, see you next time on It's Story Time.